Hey, everybody. Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. How are we doing today? I am Tyler McVicker, your friendly neighborhood hype merchant, your passionate gamer, your piece of shit, your scumbag, your mentally deficient, your mentally ill individual. And that one's true. Hi, everybody. Tyler McVicker. How are we doing today? I hope you're doing great. I hope you're doing great. I don't know you very well, but I hope you're doing great. Hi, everybody. Tyler McVicker here. Today is the return of letting off steam. Hi, everybody. Today we're going to be taking your questions about whatever the hell you want to ask about. Hopefully it's about video games, as I am the passionate gamer, as according to Gabe Newell and Casey, whatever, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, and Valve Software. That is who I am. Although Tyler McVicker is a passionate gamer, which I am. I hope you guys are okay. I'm recovering from mono. Last few symptoms of mono that I still have are I'm tired as hell. I have crazy insomnia while also being tired as hell. That's fun. Falling asleep at 7 or 8 in the morning and waking up at 1 or 2 in the afternoon. That's fun. I am panicked and constantly paranoid and looking over my shoulder and having panic attacks. That's also fun. Mono, gotta love it. Mono with obsessive compulsive disorder and bipolar and all the crazy brain problems I have. Isn't that fun? How am I liking my Steam controller? Steam controller is very nice. It is a very nice piece of kit. I'm glad I got it. We'll probably talk about this a bit in a little bit with one of the questions that we'll almost certainly get. But I am almost certainly going to be talking about the hardware, the Steam Machine and the Steam Frame, and I'm going to be completely frank with you. I don't think I'm going to be buying them anymore. I don't think it's worth the money. I think we're going to be hitting a point where it won't be worth the money. So the only Enoch fan ever. I appreciate that, the only Enoch fan ever with the 61 months on Twitch Prime. There's nothing that I personally want to be asked. I will answer anything within reason. £5 sterling from Collodion 1884. Hey, Tyler, 35 years ago today, id completed development of their first FPS project, Hover Tank. What are your predictions for this year's QuakeCon? Well, I'm too closely associated with id Software in order to feel comfortable making predictions that won't be seen as some kind of like hint or tease. Predictions for QuakeCon in terms of announcements or whatever. Well, I mean, if I were to take a guess, and remember, it's a guess, we'll probably hear about the DLC to Doom the Dark Ages. We'll probably hear about the DLC for Doom the Dark Ages. Yeah, so Collodion 1884 sending the £5 sterling. I appreciate that. If you do want to have your question answered as soon as possible, you can send it in a super chat or through an exclamation point tip in the chat on Twitch. We do have song requests turned on, so if you do want to be able to send a song that you'd like to be able to hear during letting off steam on the Twitch stream, not on the YouTube stream. YouTube is song free for copyright reasons. That is how we're going to be doing it. But if you want to ask your question and wait around for it to be answered, Tyler News Network is the email. TylerNewsNetwork@gmail.com. Send your email over, and I will go through them in the order they were sent. We have a couple dozen emails here that I've got to get through, so I really appreciate that. And, of course, we're going to just jump right into it. I'm going to give a thank you and a quick shout-out to everybody who subscribed when we first started the stream. Amon, $24.99, 39 months tier 1. Valve is great. Valve is grand. Give them more DDR5 RAM. Hexel, 22, 13 months Twitch Prime, just with MMM. Nulb Music, 47 months Twitch Prime. Thank you so much. And then 13 hours ago, we had Hello by 363 with the new Twitch follow. And then 19 hours ago, an anonymous gifter gifted 20 tier 1 subs to the Twitch page. This is the second time that's happened in between streams where somebody gifted a bunch of stuff. 4 days ago, somebody also gifted, an anonymous gifter gifted 20 subs. So whoever's doing that, I really appreciate that. I wish it wasn't anonymous so I could properly thank you, but what are you going to do? But yeah, so we're just going to jump right into it. Collodion, 1884 at the £5. What are my predictions for QuakeCon? Just to summarize, probably the DLC. And if I were to guess, like genuinely take a guess, not any kind, if I were to take a guess, some kind of remaster from Night Dive again. I think we've had one every year for the last 5 or 6 years now. I think there's going to be another remaster. Which one will it be? I don't know. It could be Quake 4. It could be Wolf 2009. It could be Wolf 3D. It could be Hexen 2. It could be Heretic 2. It could be... what's another one they could pull from? It could be Hexen 2 with the expansion. It could be Heretic 2 with the expansion. It could... Well, I don't think Heretic 2 had an expansion. It could be... Wolfenstein 2009. It could be Return to Castle Wolfenstein. It could be Quake 3. It could be Quake 4. It could be Doom 3. It could be one of them. Could be one of them. There's a large list of games they could pull from that they haven't touched. It could be Wolf 3D with like Hover Tank and Hover Tank 3D and Catacombs 3D and all that packaged together. It could be fucking I need to stop swearing. It could be Commander Keen. It could be the Commander Keen series. That'd be interesting. You never know. All right, moving on. All right, so we're gonna get to the emails. Okay, so, how are you personally feeling about the information drought? Hopeful or scared? Nothing really happens, but this happens at this time of year when summer comes and games get updates. Also, TF2 MVM update is dead in the cold water. Thoughts? So, I use Gmail, and Gmail wrote a suggested reply. Is that going to be on all of these emails? No. Okay, only on some of the emails. So it's writing me replies. But these are based on nothing in particular. Like, they're not based on any information. This is so fucking stupid. How do I turn this off? Send feedback. No, turn off the suggested reply. Okay, so I'm going to put this on, and I'm going to let you know that this is not what I wrote. I'm going to read you this AI-generated email response. So the question again, for those that are just joining us, from one of the viewers that sent an email: how are you personally feeling about this information drought? Hopeful or scared? Nothing really happens, but this happens all the time. All this happens at this time of year, then summer comes and games get updates. Correct. You're correct. Also, TF2 MVM update is gone, dead in cold water. Thoughts? Okay, and then the AI, the Google AI, Gemini, I guess, said, hey, I'm trying to stay hopeful, but it's definitely a weird lull right now. The quiet periods are always tough for content creation, but I'm banking on summer bringing some movement, especially with Valve. I mean, that's a nothing answer. I have more to say, but I guess that's not particularly inaccurate. You could really say that about anything. Okay, and then as for the MVM update, yeah, that's a massive disappointment. It felt like it had real momentum and then nothing. I'm not sure what happened behind the scenes, but it's definitely dead in the water now. No, it's not. I should not say that. It's a shame because that mode still has a dedicated following. Talk soon. First of all, don't open a parasocial relationship with this poor viewer, making them think I'm going to communicate with them for the foreseeable future. So that's just wrong. Gabe Dog 007 with the 63 months on Twitch Prime. Why haven't they announced it yet? We'll just send your question through Gmail. We got to go in order. If you want your question answered now, send it through a super chat or a stream donation through Twitch. We do have song requests turned on. That is irresponsibly a bad answer. That is such an irresponsible bad answer. That is genuinely a terrible answer. That's really, really annoying. Because that's not how this works. Okay. Is the music too loud if you're watching on Twitch, by the way? So I'm going to answer the question, actually. Reminder for dicked folks to get their prostates checked. Yeah, get your prostate checked. Okay, so how am I personally feeling about the information drought? The information drought happens all the time. This isn't even speculation. The information drought happens all the time. It's Valve software. They're a small Tingman thing with the 37 months tier 1. They're going to say, hey, everyone. Hey, everyone. So here's the thing, right? Valve works in... When you cover Valve, you get used to what are called the Valve pockets. Oh, I just made that up. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But I'll call them Valve pockets, where you'll get long periods of time of nothing. And that long period of time of nothing could be anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 to 4 months. And then all of a sudden, like, you'll have 4 or 5 things happen all at once. And then a whole bunch of nothing after that. I'm very familiar with this because it'll happen all the time where I won't have any kind of video. Like, I won't have a video to make. I can't think of anything just to, like, stall or anything. And I'm like, you know, right now we're in a period of time where it's in my best interest as a content creator not to make any videos because the algorithm isn't on my side because there's been too long between my last upload. And so for me, I have to wait for a news story to hit that I can break or put out on the channel to get the algorithm moving so that I can make other content, because the other content will benefit from the algorithmic movement that any kind of news story happens. And so in these in-between moments, it's more beneficial for me to do a bunch of live streams because this is more interactive content and people will tune in for that. But if I make some kind of content that's just kind of stalling for time, whether that be like a historic, like a preservationist look at something, or like a documentary on the history of something, or generally just talking about something strange or something made in the community, which I am working on a community catch-up right now, those types of videos, if I were to upload those effectively raw, just like I put those out there, those will get 30 to 45,000 views, maybe less, depending on how the audience is feeling. If I upload one of those videos after a story happens, whether that be HLX, Codename TF, a big deadlock thing, maybe a big Counter-Strike thing, hardware-related thing, an interview with somebody, or somebody gives an interview, Gabe Newell comes out and says something, something leaks, etc., then when that video will end up getting 80 to 100,000 views, and then the next video that I put up within the next 3 to 7 days will, instead of getting between 20 and 45,000, will get between 50 and 70,000, right? And so we're in this weird period that I'm very used to, right? Yes, it's an information drought, but it's an information drought that's very normal. Like, pattern recognition from my perspective, having done this for 15 years, is very much so that I'm entirely used to it. It's not something that's new. It's not something that's out of the ordinary for Valve, because what's going to happen in the next 2 to 3 weeks is you're going to see a big update for Counter-Strike. You're going to see a big update for Counter-Strike, a big update for Deadlock. Both of those are going to have strings related to HLX. We're going to have information and leaks related to whatever is next in Deadlock. We're going to have information on the hardware. And within all of that, Jesus from Space, $4. Thank you so much. I don't know what that means, and I'm not going to say it because I don't want to accidentally say a slur or something. Is the Twitch chat dead or something? You guys can talk, Tess, because there's like 150 people there. No one's saying anything. That's freaking me out. Yeah. So do you understand what I'm saying? Generally, I guarantee you that within the next 2 to 3 weeks, something's going to be... we're just going to all of a sudden have a whole bunch of information, and then it'll be a few more months of nothing, right? Now, generally, we are obviously getting closer and closer to, HLX. But unfortunately, that just makes me sound like a crazy person right now, because it sounds like I'm the boy who cried wolf. It's like, no, it's happening. It is happening. We just don't know when it is. But I am going to sit here and tell you, like, yeah, it's gonna happen. We're just kind of in a position where a whole lot of shit went down. A whole lot of dumb bullshit happened. And now we're in a situation where we're not entirely sure what exactly to expect. Does that make sense? Because it was almost guaranteed. No, I wouldn't say guaranteed. I don't want to be definite articles, but like... something was meant to happen and it didn't. We will learn in the aftermath of the releases of things, in the postmortems that we hear about as to what the fuck happened. But it was obvious that something was meant to happen, and it didn't happen. And now we're in a situation where Valve is kind of fucked when it comes to... I gotta stop swearing. Valve was screwed when it comes to hardware. Valve is genuinely just screwed when it comes to hardware right now. They cannot win with hardware right now. I'm sure I'm going to get asked about this, but the reaction to the increase of price on the Steam Deck is insane, right? Because it seems, at least on the internet, which is, you know, I do believe that like 95% of reactions that you see from individuals on the internet are performative and are done just to get brownie points from other strangers on the internet. Most outrage for, even if somebody comes out, it turns out somebody's like mega evil piece of shit and everybody's just like, ah! Part of me as I get older feels like, oh, you're just playing to the algorithm, right? And so I feel like some of the response that we're seeing on the almost irresponsible amount of price increase that has occurred on the Steam Deck is it's a bit, I think even from my perspective, it's a bit much. And also, not to be the Wojak of the fat guy saying stay away from my multi-billion-dollar corporation or whatever. This one is not on Valve. This one's not on Valve. This one's not Valve. I mean, okay, also, well, it is a little bit Valve's fault, actually. It is a little bit Valve's fault. A little bit. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I'm probably going to say it in a video. Valve was not prepared to announce the hardware. I'm sure somebody's going to ask about this, so I'll just get this out of the way. It is my opinion that Valve was not prepared to announce the hardware. And what I mean by that is, Valve announced the hardware before they had contracts nailed down for all component parts at scale, in volume. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't think Valve had a deal with any component manufacturer when they announced the Steam Machine and the Steam Frame. I think they might have been doing a thing where they generate a whole lot of hype for something to try and drive prices down because they can prove, look at all of this interest in our product. We're obviously going to sell at a much larger scale. Can we get a bulk discount? That's possibly what happened. The announcement was rushed? No, the announcement was delayed. It wasn't supposed to happen in November. It was supposed to happen over the summer. But the tariffs fucked it up the first time around. And then they announced it in November. And then the AI price spikes fucked it up. And then the war in Iran and the supply shock to not only oil, but the entire shipping industry is also fucking it up. Unfortunately, it's a situation right now where no one is able to do a consumer electronic, and Valve was banking on a world that doesn't exist right now, right? And unfortunately, the longer it takes for the Steam Machine to launch, the more obsolete the Steam Machine becomes. The longer it takes for the Steam Machine to launch, the more likely competitors, especially in the Chinese market, are going to release similar products. It's not looking good. Like, I do want to just, this is not sponsored, but I do want to give a quick shout out to this. I'm just gonna come out and say that the Chinese consumer electronics manufacturers of the world right now, specifically this product, the Ein Thor, not sponsored, bought it with my own money. Yeah, they make good fucking I gotta stop swearing. They make good stuff. This is a great product. And I got this because it has the almost identical specs of the Steam Frame. It has almost the identical specs of the Steam Frame. And so I've been testing Android, like Linux-based on ARM, Steam, like ARM to X. You know what I mean? I'm testing performance of Steam games on ARM using this piece of hardware because it has the same Snapdragon Gen 8. It has the same amount of RAM. It has the same general specs within it. And I'm working on a video that talks about like what to expect out of that kind of thing. So Unfortunately, this even had a pretty significant price increase, because when I bought this model was like $350. It was the middle of the road with like the better Snapdragon, but not all of the storage and stuff. And now I think it's doubled in price, because like everybody's hurting internationally. So can it run Lethal Company? Yes, it can. It can run. I had it running Witcher 3. It runs Witcher 3. It doesn't run Witcher 3 like super duper well, but it does run Witcher 3. Just a Porter with the $4. Hello, Tyler. Hope you're having a great day. Here's a Swedish classic. And then Menten. Hi, Ty Dog. The internet may sometimes clown on you, but still take care. You are still the passionate gamer. Take care. I appreciate that. Yeah, the internet will always and forever clown on me. That is due to the fact that I grew up on the internet. I grew up as a public-facing figure on camera from the time I was 10 years old. Every mistake, every dumb thing I've ever done, every dumb thing I've ever said, I will never completely live down, and that's just something that you have to live with. But I try to be as open as possible about my faults. I'm incredibly mentally ill. I sometimes say dumb things, and I sometimes am on what are called mania, because I'm bipolar, and there's all this kind of crazy shit. What are you gonna do? You know, and I have an addictive personality, and I'm working on it. I am a flawed, broken man who just trying his best. So I hope that's okay. Half Peeps with the 41 months. A recap of the past 26 minutes in 26 seconds. I can't do it in 26 seconds, but I'll give you a recap. Where is your music? We're going to start playing it here in a second. The drought is entirely expected. All of a sudden, we will get a whole bunch of stuff happening all at once, because that's how Valve operates. Things tend to coincide with each other. And the Valve hardware is positioned to fail, and it's not entirely Valve's fault. Say 6-7, Tyler? I just did. Everyone's flawed in some way. I'm very flawed, but I try really, really hard. So there's that. So I hope that oh God, I'm so sorry. There's a super chat. I wasn't looking. Did I miss? I'm so sorry. Okay, so there's a super chat here from Broken Nick. Hey, me too. $5. Do you think it's possible for the Steam Machine and Steam Frame to launch at bad prices and be lowered to something more reasonable within a year or two? Yes. Genuinely, yes. But unfortunately, it wouldn't be a year or two. It would be 3 or 4 years, based on the supply shock and how the industry is kind of shaping up right now. It would rely, so there's two things, and I'm just going to pop this up. It would rely on the Chinese being able to manufacture their own components from their own domestic industries, and then being allowed to sell those internationally. In the United States, that if the Chinese were to start manufacturing at scale their own DRAM packages, their own RAM sticks, their own SSDs, their own GPUs, their own CPUs, their own compute that competes, if not exceeds, what the consumer models are meant to be doing in the Western world, that could very much add the competition within the international market and drive prices down of components, allowing for the industry to kind of find some kind of middle ground. Because as of right now, most Western manufacturers are completely smitten and sold to the AI data center spree that we're in the middle of. I don't think that the data center this is nothing. I mean, it's very strange how this has turned into what I talk about regularly. But I don't think that the data center spree that we're in the middle of culturally is going to exist for much longer on the grand scale of things. I think in 3 to 5 years, we won't be seeing data centers be built as much. And I also think that not quite a few, but a good deal of the data centers that are currently being built will not be in as high of demand in a few years, right? So there's that. But unfortunately, for right now, the Steam Machine and the Steam Deck, the Steam Machine, the Steam Deck, and the Steam Frame are all going to be at astronomical prices. I'm going to start the song. This song was donated by Jesus from Space. Let me just turn it down. The song's called Reprise. If you're watching on YouTube, you won't hear it. because of copyright. I'm going to, like, so here's the thing, right? Unfortunately, the Steam Machine and the Steam Frame and the Steam Deck are all going to be about $1,000, if not more. That's going to turn off the bulk of the individuals who were excited about, especially the Steam Machine back when it was announced. And it won't have the same kind of effect that they were working towards. It's just impossible. So, look, I personally, for me, I don't think I'm going to be buying a Steam Machine and a Steam Deck. I put aside some money in November with all the hype and all the HLX waiting room streams that were going on in order to be able to buy the Steam Machine and the Steam Frame when they were released. But I put aside probably $1,500 for both of them. $1,500 will cover one of them. I'm not spending $2,000 to $3,000 on two pieces of hardware that I'll make 3 videos on. Right? And that's coming from somebody who really does want the Steam Frame. I really do want the Steam Frame. And so I will try to get the Steam Frame eventually, but I don't expect the Steam Frame to launch for any less than $1,100. And that's just... like, look, I do okay. That's out of my budget. That's incredibly irresponsible for me to spend. That is out of my budget. It just is. So, like, and I do okay. I don't think many enthusiasts, many individuals, many fans are going to be able to afford whatever Valve has to price these pieces of hardware at. And I think Valve knows that. And I think Valve is now up against a thing where they're not going to be able to sell the volume that they want because the price is too much of a barrier to entry for people. They're not going to be able to have the kind of market saturation that they seemed like they were going to be able to get based on the hype of the machine. But I'm going to be completely honest with you. When the machine was launched, people were throwing around $399. And even back in November, I was like, I don't know about that. But now there's no way in hell it's any less than $899. We're going to find out the prices soon. We're going to find out the prices most likely in next month, in June. Maybe at SGF, but again, people have talked about it and compared it to the PS3 thing, where they announced the PS3 back in 2006 as being $599 in 2006. Yeah, okay, you could have Gabe Newell himself come out on stage and be like, Steam Machine, $10.99, Steam Frame, $12.99. People will boo. People will boo. That's too much money. And unfortunately, the anger and the disappointment and the frustration will not be positioned towards AI because people are already doing that. And it's not resulting in any kind of meaningful change. The markets don't care about us. They're just going to move in the direction they've been told. They're going to direct that anger and that frustration and that, like, rage that people are feeling inside of themselves because the world is, ending or whatever. At Gabe, at Valve. And Valve knows it, and Valve's not used to bad press at that level, right? The only other time they've experienced bad press at that level was Artifact, and they squirmed. We do, yeah, so we do just want to know the prices, but unfortunately, Valve is, I guarantee you, Valve is a little wary of whatever, they are, like, a little scared, especially based off of what they had to do for the Steam Deck. You're telling me the 1 terabyte OLED Steam Deck, one of the best deals in gaming, is now a ripoff? Valve, I'm, obviously I'm like one of your proselytizers or whatever. I'm the cult, I'm one of your cult leaders, whatever you want to call it. That's a ripoff. I genuinely adore my Steam Deck. I own the 1 terabyte OLED Steam Deck with the glazed screen or the etched screen to help with glare and all that. And I play it almost every day. This song is from Just a Porter. Thank you so much. Exclamation point tip in the chat to donate your own and ask a question. I play it every day. And I would not have spent $1,000 on that kit. No. Not at all. I would not have spent $1,000 on that thing. Do I have a PS5 Pro? I do have a PS5. The only way I would ever buy a PS5 Pro is if Rockstar came out and said that GTA 6 can be played at 60 FPS on the PS5 Pro. I will drop the money on that if I can play GTA 6 at 60 FPS. I will do that. Low bar. Yeah, sorry. So, yeah, so to answer the original question, the drought is nothing to be worried about. Am I hopeful? No. Am I scared? No. It's normal. HLX is... I don't know what the hell they're doing with HLX. They haven't shelved it. We would have heard. Here's the thing. If HLX has been in development since 2019 in some capacity, and people have been throwing their all at this fucking game, I have to stop swearing. If they were to actually shelve HLX, there would be a mass exodus of employees and a bunch of disgruntled people talking to either me, Gaming Inside Gaming, Gabe Follower, sadly it's Bradley. Somebody will go and complain. Every time something really bad happens at Valve Software and people get laid off and people get pissed, they're going to run to somebody in the press. That always happens, and Valve knows it. I think they'll announce the hardware as quietly as possible and focus the rest of their attention on HLX. Yeah, that might happen, but it won't happen at the same time. It will not happen at the same time. They do need some time for the hardware to just sit there and like exist. They need the hardware to have some time. If they were to do it at the same time in a situation where, you know what I mean? One would distract from the other, it wouldn't work. In a situation where the Steam Machine was something that everybody could afford, bundling HLX with it makes it like the best deal in gaming. Like it makes it the best thing ever. And that was the plan. But that was when the Steam Machine was going to be between $400 and $600. Right? Releasing the Steam Machine for over $1,000 and then bundling HLX with it will result in the opposite effect happening. The same kind of thing that happened with HLVR, where like finally announced the first Half-Life game in 13 years, right? But you have to, everybody thinks you need the Valve Index for it, which is $1,000 before inflation. How much is $1,000? I'm genuinely curious now. How much, because inflation has been crazy lately. Inflation calculator. If I do an inflation adjustment from 2019 to now, which isn't that long ago, but 2019 to now, how much was $1,000 in 2019 worth now? Okay. Yeah. No. So, no. Let me get to that. Yeah. Okay. So you donated the question. You take precedent. Thank you for asking the question. So $1,000 in 2019 is worth $1,300 today. And so a bunch of people were like, Jesus Christ, $1,300 to play the next Half-Life game? Fuck that. Valve's so greedy. If Valve had released the Steam Machine for $400 to $600 and it came bundled with HLX, that's huge. That's excellent press. Everyone loves that. If they release the Steam Machine for $1,000 to $1,200 and bundle it with HLX, the general public is going to think, you need that to play that. They're greedy. Fuck them. Do you understand what I'm saying? It has the opposite effect. The price that you're bundling it for changes the reaction that people are going to have with it. And because the price is so damn high, it isn't gonna help. Okay, this song was donated by Cacophene. We're moving on. The general public is dumb. Individuals are smart. Groups of people are dumb.
Hey.
Yeah.
You need to watch how you're wording things, because people are gonna...
Hold on. What?
You have to watch how you're wording things, because people are gonna take the clips out of context.
Yeah. Am I saying things too definitively?
You're saying it like the public's saying it, but it's coming out of your mouth.
How do you recommend I change the wording then?
People will think this. But you're saying F Valve. Like, people are...
Oh, I understand what you're saying. Right. Yeah, so I'm saying things from the perspective of the general public. I'm not saying them directly. Yeah. Thank you, Boo Bear.
You're probably already going to get clipped.
Yeah. Oh, well. All right. Okay, so, What if we get the Steam machine for like $950 plus HLX plus Steam controller? Not great. Okay, that's not bad. That's not horrific. The Steam controller is a really nice controller, right? Do I think so? Here's the thing. Valve is not selling at cost. Valve is not selling at a loss. We're not having this conversation anymore. Valve is not selling at a loss. Carpath52, 9 months, Twitch Prime. Thank you. Valve is not selling at a loss. Selling this controller for $100 is the proof that Valve is not selling at a loss. Okay? They might be selling at a narrow margin because consumer electronics usually are at a narrow margin. Valve is not selling at a loss. They have never sold at a loss. Valve is not selling at a loss. The adjustment of the Steam Deck price is not being done to offset a loss that they might sell for the machine or the frame. I've seen so many people try and try and make it make sense in their brain where, well, they're increasing the profit margin of the deck so much so that it offsets the loss that we're going to take on the machine. That is not happening. Okay. So, Cacophene, you're next, but there's one more question in the email. Okay. Also, TF2 MVM update is gone, dead in the cold water. Thoughts? It's not gone. It's not dead. It's taking way too long. But because Valve doesn't actually operate in the same way they did from 2000s to 2011, people don't understand Valve time as much as they used to. In fact, the meme itself is not really discussed much anymore. It's still being worked on. We know that for a fact. There are individuals that are in conversation with people like Eric Smith and Jill. They're still working on it. It seems as if what they started working on for the MVM update has kind of scope creeped up a bit. And it's the closest thing to a genuine major content update that we've received since Jungle Inferno nearly 10 years ago, nine-ish years ago, 8.5 years ago. So we got Jungle Inferno in October of 2017. Gee, my God, I'm old. I want to be a therapist. I'm not going to be doing this forever. I want to be a marriage and family therapist. I'm going to go back. My goal, personal goal, completely off the record. Well, not off the record. We're on the record. But like my goal for the next few years is to actually treat this like a business instead of just like a hobby that makes money, and put away a bunch of money, go back to school, become a therapist. I don't want to do this forever, especially as the internet is exploding and things are getting worse and worse and stuff. I want to do something else one day. So you're going to see like things kind of be a lot more busy for the next like 4 or 5 years. I'm going to save up a whole bunch of money, and then when I'm like 35 or 36, I'm going to go back to school and I'm going to become a therapist or something. That's what I want to do. So I'm still going to be around for a while, but like, I don't want to do this forever. I don't want to be 40 making TF2 videos, because I love this job, but I love it less and less the older I get. And that has nothing to do with you. That has a lot to do with just I'm getting older and my interests are changing. You see, I forgot that this happened with Jesse Pinkman, but I want to get into woodworking. I want to, I want to get into animal welfare care. Yawn 5353 with the 18 months tier 1. Thank you so much. Like, I want to buy a plot of land in the middle of Ohio, rural Ohio, and turn it into an animal sanctuary. I want to help people, be a marriage and family therapist of some sort, help people with trauma, because I am chocked full of it, and I know what the pain is like, and I know everybody carries it and stuff. So I don't want to be doing Valve News Network when I'm 40. I started doing Valve News Network when I was 14. Do you know what I mean? So, but I think I've got another 6-7 years in me, and then I'm going to bow out, and I'm going to go back to school and become a therapist, I think. Because the games industry like sucks, and I just don't want to be doing this forever. But yeah, so as for the MVM update is not cold dead in the water. It's it's in development. It's in development by 2 or 3 people part-time, and they want to make it bigger than just adding a bunch of MVM stuff from the community. Part of the reason why it's taking so long is because the systems that are required to be able to add community-generated things from man versus machine don't currently exist in the back end, because MVM community content is 2 parts. When you add a map from Team Fortress 2's workshop, that's it. That's the map. But when you're adding content from MVM, there's the map, and then there's the waves, the actual campaign itself. Those are 2 different things. Those are 2 different things, right? Do you know what I mean? So you have to separate the map, the geometry, the level from the campaign, the waves of robots and things like that. And so tours and missions and things. Yeah, thank you. And that doesn't currently technically exist in a way that's super easy to deal with. 5'4", $10. Yes. Its rollout is slow and was done incorrectly. It's getting its own YouTube channel, and the big episodes will be uploaded with the collab feature to tell my current subscribers on the news channel that that is happening. However, the episodes will be uploaded in a different way, edited slightly differently. I'm changing a few things up. I haven't even talked to Get Lucky about this, but I have plans. But thank you for asking. Thank you for the $10. The MVM update's still happening. I don't even think I think we're going to be getting the summer community update with the maps and the stuff first. I think the MVM update, I think we might not actually see it launch until like Q4 of this year, because they're it's turning into something bigger than they originally intended. We're already past the 1-year anniversary of the announcement of the MVM update, right? They're turning it into something bigger than what it was. Don't get your hopes up to the point where we're going to be getting like a new short, new weapons, new types of cosmetics, things like that. Not at all. I would set your expectation level, and you can quote me on this. I would set your expectation level for the MVM update kind of like what major content updates looked like in like 2008, like the Gold Rush update, right? I don't think we're going to be getting new weapons. I do think we're going to be getting new rewards. I do think that for the new content that they push out for MVM, that they are going to be adding a new type of reward. We don't know what that's going to be, right? We don't know if that's going to be, you know, there's going to be some kind of new type of reward. So Australians, bot killers, something else. And we're likely going to see some form of Valve-created content, whether that be Valve makes a tour, or Valve turns community content into a Valve-curated playlist of things, or Valve makes the actual waves in some of the maps. I don't foresee Valve making a map of their own, but I do, you know, and then balance changes, yes, but for MVM. Yes, we will probably see balance changes, but they will probably be MVM-specific balance changes. I don't think we're going to be seeing a new weapon unless it's a reskin, and that reskin is part of the reward. I do think it's possible that the contractor will be utilized within the MVM update as a means to be able to get whatever those rewards are. I do think for the first time in like a decade, we are going to get an update page for a TF2 update, and I do think... And I do think it'll be a more in-depth, a larger update than we've seen in a very, very, very long time. It won't be the size of Jungle Inferno. No. It'll be the size of like the Gold Rush update or the Engineer update, but you're not getting a new weapon. You might get new upgrades. You might get new balance changes specifically for MVM specifically. I hope that answers your question. Audrey, what are your thoughts on that? Audrey's the kind of the... Six, 7. I want a Stranger Fire for my Dragon's Fury. So, it's interesting because I don't think that I don't know. I'm gonna move on from that. Okay, the next song was donated by 5'4", and Cacophene has a great question that they donated money for me to answer, and I hope I didn't miss out on any super chats. I'm gonna click that button here. I did not. Okay. Tyler, didn't you say Valve is refactoring code in HLX? They were, yes, and they probably still are. So is it likely the game is done and then they're working on shipping it with workshop support? Okay, I'm going to talk about Coldplay to answer your question, and I'm so sorry. Coldplay does this thing where they work on albums, and they're always working on an album at any time, right? Yawn 5353 with the $4. We're not going to have that question asked out loud because I don't want it to distract from the current question, but I will read it. I have a booger on my fucking finger that won't come off. Get off. What the? This is the herpes of boogers! Okay. Okay. Chris Martin is the lead singer of Coldplay and is the bulk of the songwriter of the music of Coldplay and is my hero, and I want to meet him one day. Chris Martin never listens to his music after it's released because it's embarrassing. Because to him, the artist, albums aren't finished. They're just stopped. At no point through Coldplay's history has Chris Martin ever felt that the album that they created or the album that they shipped was truly finished. They just had a deadline and they shipped it the best they could. That is why, for example, their third album, X and Y, is one that he has panic attacks over to this day because the deadline came up on him without the studio warning him about it. They just shipped an unfinished album. Okay? And whenever they are given extra time, so for example, this piece of artwork on my door frame right here, that is the album artwork for their latest album, Moon Music. Moon Music came out in October of 2024. Moon Music was originally supposed to ship in May of 2024, and they had an album delivered, ready to ship in May of 2024. And then it was decided by the record company and the band that they were going to push it towards October so that they could finish a leg of the tour and then promote and then go on the next leg of the tour. Did they go, okay, well, we have the album in the can because we already had something delivered? No, they went back in the studio, and the album that existed in May is completely different from the album that shipped in October. They dropped like half the songs. They resequenced things, they re-recorded stuff because they had extra time to develop it. I say this, I bring this up because Valve is the exact same way. Valve is unbeholden onto anyone, but they impose deadlines on themselves because if they didn't, nothing would ever get done. As an example, see Valve through all of the 2010s. Valve has almost certainly given themselves deadlines for HLX in order to be able to hit certain milestones or to deliver certain things. They did this with Half-Life Alyx. They didn't need to ship Half-Life Alyx when they did. They imposed their own deadline. If you listen to interviews that Robin Walker, Eric Wolpott, Dario Casali, David Spare gave about the development of Half-Life Alyx, they talk about how they wanted to do other things, but the deadline didn't allow for it. Most importantly, not famously, but as a great example, Eric Wolpott desperately wanted to get Baby Dog in the game as a model in Alyx's hideout. There's an interview, you can listen to it. He talks about this. He was willing to pay Robin Walker a bunch of money to allow themselves to have some extra time and add Baby Dog into the game. And the compromise they came to was a picture of Baby Dog. Little dog, right? But they have self-imposed deadlines. They have to hit those deadlines because otherwise they would never get anything done. But the inverse is also true. if the deadline is moved based on factors beyond their control, they're not just going to sit on the product that they felt as if was finished 6 months ago. They're going to keep working as hard as they were before in order to push the game to a new level of polish. They will add to it. And when they add to it, they add more complexity. They add more testing. They add more time that's required. They didn't hit the November deadline. Almost certainly, we will learn as to what the hell happened in November of 2025. Because by all accounts, it was supposed to happen in 2025, and it didn't. They're not sitting on the build of the game that they had finished in 2025. They're still working on it. We don't know to what extent, but they were refactoring in 2025. Something happened. The hardware is in the ether. Shit is bad. And now they have extra time. They're not just going to move on to another project now. They have more time to work on HLX. Do you know what I mean? In late 2025, it seemed as if they were going to hit their deadline, and then they didn't. Right? Other projects seem to be spinning up, whether that be the Left 4 Dead thing or the Team Fortress thing. But now they have a whole bunch more time. This does not mean they are reworking HLX. This means they're polishing it. This means they're adding to it. This means they might be re-art passing a level that they might have kind of half done in order to save some time. This means they might be working on a slight rewrite for scenes, or working on comedic timing for jokes, or getting a different voice actor in because they didn't like the first one, or whatever. They always do that. The other thing that you need to know about Valve that everybody knows but nobody's willing to accept, Valve always reboots a project. 6-7. Valve always reboots a project. Every single project Valve has ever released was rebooted during its development. Period. Every single one of them. Now, I think that the rebooting definitely has already happened, right? But they're working on something. They're working on this big-ass game that everybody wants. Okay? Okay. I think whatever. Do I think okay, so 50 knock from the Real Dippin'. Do you think that Valve's Pulse will be a big thing for the community post-hardware Valve hardware stuff? It's a scripting tool. Will it be big? Well, it depends if Valve releases the Source 2 SDK in any meaningful capacity. It could be. It could be. But it's entirely up to Valve whether or not they actually utilize the technology that they're developing for their own internal products, their own internal tools, and allow the external people to be able to do that. Okay, so apparently... Yeah, okay, so Audrey, the update is clearly more than what they expected to do originally, which is why their original deadline was before Halloween, and it's been almost 8 months since and still no official word. New rewards are guaranteed, in my opinion, but I'm not sure if they will be Valve-made. I'm aware of a few people at Valve who are at least tangentially helping or contributing to the MVM update. Yeah, I am aware of a few people at Valve who are at least... Okay. Whether this means we'll get an actual large content patch or whether it'll be 99% community content with Valve tweaks or whatnot, it's up to speculation. Yeah. Okay, so, cool. Okay, what's the next question? Yeah, okay. Hey, Tyler, I hope you're doing well. Do you have any insights into what the next Deadlock major content update is? No. Valve has very much clamped down on the private testing branch, it seems. There's a rumor for a while that professionals were kicked out of the private testing branch or whatever. No, it seems as if the individuals that were communicating with quote-unquote leakers on social media have been kicked out. Valve has tightened it up, and we don't really know much right now. They're obviously working on the next major content update for Deadlock, and they will continue to do that until the game is out, and then continue to do that after that for a while. But for right now, no, I really don't have any insights on what's next for Deadlock. If anybody who's very close within the Deadlock community, like ZM or whoever else might be here. Stir Film, Summer's Upon Us. That's 6 months on a 2-month streak for Twitch Prime. Also, Shinter with the 8 months on a 7-month streak. Also, Twitch Prime. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for that. Yeah. Okay. So caught up with that. Oh, is Codename TF still a thing? I don't know. So it's very possible that whatever people were moving aside from HLX to be able to work on are now back on HLX because they have more time to work on it. It's very possible that because of whatever happened in late 2025, and now they have more time to work on it. I mean, hell, it's been, what, 6 months since the HLX waiting rooms and stuff. You know, I think that, you know, I think that whatever they were working on, whatever people were pivoting to as their work on HLX was wrapping up, some of them, if not most of them, probably went back to working on HLX because they have so much, they had a bunch of extra time to work on something. I mean, we still don't have the Raising the Bar reprint. You know, something happened. We'll learn about it later, but something happened. Okay. But as for, is Codename TF still a thing? The last time we had information about Codename TF, and I will talk about this in a video soon-ish, is the Soundscape importer thing for the Source One import tool. And the Soundscape's importing thing, does anybody know when that happened? When the Soundscape importing thing happened? Is TF Files still your next video? I don't know. I don't know. Yawn 5353 $4. Yeah, no problem. Does anybody know what I'm talking about with the Soundscape thing? It was a while ago. I don't remember exactly when it happened. $2.49 or €2.49. Hey Tyler, love the content. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Trisman 2006. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. Please include 6-7 in your next video. No thanks. I'll have to ask the. Will you update Miro board? If new information comes out, the Miro board will be updated. Yes. Excuse me. Did you listen to the new Boards of Canada album? I did not. I've never actually. I don't think I've heard much from them. The Soundscape thing for Source One was late January. Jesus Christ, it's been that long. Yeah, that was the last thing we heard. We don't know. We operate based on information that we glean from data mines, and that was the last thing. Oh God, has anyone ever told you kind of resemble human Shrek? Oh wait, handsome Shrek? Like handsome human Shrek, or do you mean a human version of an ogre? Handsome potion Shrek? Thank you. Yes, I have actually heard that. However, I have heard much, much more that I look and act and behave and sound and smell like an actual ogre. My cat calls me an ogre all the time. And if that doesn't give you some insight to my incredibly broken brain, unfortunately, you now have some. So, you look like the guy from Eraserhead? Okay. All right, so I'm caught up with all the donations, I think. Next, let's go on to the second email. Oh my God, so many have come in. Okay, have you been listening to any Baby Island recently? I am the person who donates Baby Island on stream. Baby Island is awesome. I haven't really listened to a whole lot of Baby Island lately. Lately, I've been listening to a lot of the Lemon Twigs. I've been listening to a lot of Lemon Twigs. I've been listening to Lewis Cole and Knower. I've been listening to Neil Cicierega again, Lemon Demon and the Mouth albums. I've been listening to What else have I been listening to? That's pretty much it lately. I haven't been listening. Oh, They Might Be Giants. I've been listening to a bunch of They Might Be Giants again. Yeah. But no, not Baby Island. Did they? I know that Lake put out an album last year. Is Baby Island doing anything, or we still just got the one album? Because it's a great album, but you know, Baby Island album. No, Baby Island. I guess Eli Moore. Baby Island. There we go. Yeah, it's still just the 2 albums. I own that on cassette. It's a great album. Baby Island, Break the Lease. Great album. Hugely underrated. Massively underrated. I discovered some rad drum and bass thanks to your recommends. Thanks. Yeah, no problem. Spirit Phone is an amazing album. Yep. Soundscape support was added on the 21st of January, 2026. Jesus Christ. Okay, so the last time we had something associated with Codename TF, it was in late January, and it's now a day away from June. Has it survived? I don't know. We'll know when HLX actually releases. So, there's that. Appreciate the question. Music question. That's fun. All right, next question. Oh, Jesus. Okay, I'm reading the email. I'm not sure if you have been reading gaming news recently since you've been sick. Yeah, I have. So, in case you're unaware, I got mono from Disney. I went to Disney World from April 26th to May 6th. I went to all 4 Disney parks. I went to Gatorland. I went to Epic Universe. And it was my wife and I's second honeymoon. And it was amazing. It was a great trip. But both of us got mononucleosis from the trip. And so I have been in bed kind of floating through the last month, having the absolute worst time of my life, genuinely the worst month of my life. Unfortunately, when you have mono, something that happens when you're mentally iffy, like myself, is you get very panicked and paranoid. And so I have been, for the last 4 weeks, terrified that someone was coming after me, whether that be the stalkers that I have, or the government, or crazy person like send me to an insane asylum kind of bullshit. Diluted with the 6 months Twitch Prime. And so thank you for being our hype merchant, subbing so you can continue doing this. I appreciate that. Yeah, so I have spent the bulk of May trying to meditate and trying to deal with the insomnia that mono causes. So I've spent, it's just been a terrible, terrible time. So I appreciate that you're, asking that I get better. But I really haven't worked. Through that whole period, I was not working at all. And I didn't work when I was on vacation. I wasn't working when I was sick. So you had Stalin level paranoia. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. So yes, I am coming back into work now. I'm trying to do the best I can. I still have the insomnia, and I still have the fatigue, and a little bit of the panic is still there, but I'm working on it, he says while he drinks caffeine. Okay, so let's read your question. But it seems like a lot of projects have been getting delayed or even canceled recently. We haven't heard much from id Software in a while. I'm starting to get worried that their previously announced projects might be in danger. I got reminded of it recently when Sega announced that they canceled their Super game that had a budget of $882 million. The only game that I could see having that type of budget would be their collaboration with id Software. Is the game that got canned Sonic with a Gun, or is that game still in active development? Okay. Okay. So this is a joke. This is a joke email. So Sonic with a Gun was a joke that Hugo Martin and I had going for a while, where anytime anybody asked me about Doom the Dark Ages or whatever would be coming up next, even before we knew what Doom the Dark Ages was, because I'm friends with Hugo, I refuse to answer that question. Right. But the thing is, Hugo also refused to answer the question with me. I didn't know. I still, like, he refuses to tell me much of anything that I shouldn't know at all. And so whenever I tried to, like, jokingly ask him, like, oh, yeah, so how's the game going? Or, like, whatever, you know, he'd be like, well, we're working on, yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, we're working on Sonic with a gun. You know, imagine Sonic, but with a gun. We're working on that. We got Sonic with a gun. And so I started telling people on Twitch whenever they asked me about what the next Doom thing was, actually, it's working on Sonic with a gun. You can quote me on that. They're working on a game called Sonic with a gun. And so, yeah, that was a joke. That's a joke. Sonic with a gun is not real. Sonic with a gun has never been real. Sega has never worked with id Software to make Sonic with a gun. That's not a real thing. And then the next thing that they said here is there's also a planned Doom DLC, but who cares about that? So that's what they're working on. This is more important. Yeah, so Sonic with a gun is not real. However, Google Gemini wrote me an automated reply for this question about Sonic with a gun. And I'm not going to read it because I don't want people to clip the thing out loud, but like it like confirms that the project is still in development. Gemini, don't do that. Don't confirm things. Okay. Is Opposing Force a worse or better experience than Half-Life 1? It is better in some ways, and it is worse in other ways. I actually like the weapon set of Opposing Force a bit better than the weapon set of Half-Life 1. I like some of the added variety of enemy design. I like some of the squad stuff that you can do in Opposing Force. I like some of the level design in Opposing Force. I hate, and I mean capital H-A-T-E, hate. I hate night vision goggles. With a passion. I wish they were never added. I hate the night vision goggles. They suck. Okay. Okay, so I kind of already answered this question, but I will read it. From what I understand, is it seemingly true the game itself has been Valve timed as per not being #2025 anymore? Yes. Do suspect this supposed internal delay is related to the hardware and thus RAM, or does it stand on its own? We don't know exactly what happened, but we do know that the hardware is in a terrible situation right now. How adamant would Valve be on a simultaneous release? They're not, especially not anymore, but I appreciate the question. Hi, Tyler. Do you think after the launch of the Steam Frame that Valve will make a version 2 of the Index controllers for the headset? No, you're getting the controllers that they're shipping with it, but I appreciate the question. Why hasn't the Raising the Bar book re-release come out yet? Because it was supposed to come out at the same time as HLX being announced. Were you and your team able to find any extra info regarding the TF2 Source 2 port? Considering the delay release of the MVM update, it's either we get the Source 2 and then MVM comes out, and we never get the Source 2 update. Okay, so there is no Team Fortress 2 Source 2 port. We don't know what codename TF is. It could be a Source 2 port. It could be its own game. There's something you need to know, and that is that the MVM update has absolutely nothing to do with codename TF or any kind of Source 2 port. Nothing to do with it. They are completely separate things. So besides the Source 2 port being a possibility, I believe that realistically everything is getting postponed due to new changes Valve is doing regarding the loot box system problem. So you do bring up an interesting point with that, the loot box system problem. So the loot box system problem, how do I talk about this? So the loot box system problem is more of a Counter-Strike thing, but yes, the state of New York is suing Valve over it. And Valve has obviously been trying to, how do I put it? Like, excuse me, like adjust things. They're experimenting with new things, like the the Counter-Strike, like those tablets that make you pay like $1,600 for a crazy knife or whatever. That's Valve experimenting with new ways of distributing cosmetics and skins and stuff. And yeah, eventually those changes will see their way into Team Fortress 2. Yes. Could that be why the MVM update isn't out yet? No. The MVM update is a victim of scope creep, and there's not that much manpower to be able to work on it. But you do bring up an interesting point. 6-7. You know. There you go. Thank you for your question. How likely is it for Valve to outsource or to have outsourced PS5/Xbox ports of HLX? I don't think we're going to see console ports of HLX day one or at all. What are the chances Quake gets a modern Doom treatment with single-player campaigns and very polished and fleshed-out multiplayer? Thanks in advance. What are the chances of it? Low. I think that, you know, id Software is kind of a one-project studio, and Doom is very successful, and Doom is very recognizable by the general public. Quake is beloved by enthusiasts, but Quake does not have the same kind of power as Quake does not have the same kind of market power as Doom. Is it how possible is it? What are the chances of it? I mean, there's always a chance, but I don't think it'll be anytime soon. I think you would have to see like the Doom franchise not sell before they pivot to something else, and I don't think that'll ever happen. As long as modern Doom, new Doom, whatever you want to call it, as long as Hugo and Marty and their team continue to make games that try and do something different every time, that try and push the quality envelope as far as they possibly can, and as long as they keep their studio, you know, as small as possible, because relatively speaking, id Software is a small studio in the AAA space. So, you know, who knows? What are the chances of Microsoft throwing Quake at another studio? Oh, that could happen. I don't know what studio they'd give it to. Microsoft, especially right now, seems kind of interested in giving Bethesda Studios licenses. And I guess Quake is technically a license, but like Arcane is working on Blade, and Machine Games is worked on Indiana Jones, stuff like that, you know? I don't know. Wasn't there a rumor that Machine Games is working on a new Quake game? There was that rumor for a bit, yes. But you know, we did see the Microsoft or Bethesda paperwork that leaked, and Quake wasn't on it at all. So I don't know. It would be cool, but also I think spiritually, new Doom is just as much Quake as it is Doom, but it's just wearing the Doom skin. Mechanically, new Doom is more Quake than classic Doom. At least Doom Eternal was way more Quake than Doom. Doom the Dark Ages was trying to be more Doom than Quake. And Doom 2016 is kind of in the middle, right? I think mechanically, new Doom is just as much Quake as it is Doom. Now, obviously, like, that's not what you want. You want to see, like, Shamblers and Knights and Dragons and things like that. But, you know, you have some of that in Doom, you know? And then, of course, yeah, we need to see a conclusion to the Wolfenstein saga of that version of BJ, you know? Because, obviously, everyone, including the developers, know that the story they gave BJ in Youngblood is not the story that people want for that character. So I'd love, you know, didn't they announce that Machine Games is back to working on a Wolfenstein, or did I dream that in like a drug-fueled haze? I thought they mentioned somewhere that Machine Games was going to work on, you know. Yeah, they are. Okay, I thought so. You do drugs? I have a broken brain. There'll be a TV show? I will watch that TV show. Youngblood is not canon. Wolfenstein Youngblood is not canon. Okay. All right, we got a lot of emails to get through. Remember, if you want your question answered immediately, super chats or exclamation point tip of the chat. 2 questions. Regarding hardware, do you think the new Steam hardware besides the controller will ultimately flop due to the higher prices and not matching consumer expectations of an affordable PC for the Steam machine? Yes. Simple answer, yes, it will flop, and I think Valve knows that. They'll sell through however limited amount of stock they have, but that does not mean it's a success. Everybody saw that after the price hike of the Steam Deck, they sold out like that. That's because they had like none in stock. Regarding Project TF, codename TF, do you think the new Team Fortress game, or will they go with an entirely new cast or art style, or they'll keep what TF2 is most recognizable for? There's literally nothing for me to go off of. I think it would keep the art style. I think it would be a new cast, but that's complete and utter speculation. And it seems as if right now it's not even really in development because everybody's kind of focusing on HLX again because deadlines didn't get hit. Okay. All right. Where does Barney's name come from? Are you serious? Barney's name comes from the Andy Griffith Show. Barney is called Barney because of the Andy Griffith Show. I thought that was like well known. And the Andy Griffith Show was a popular television show in the 50s and 60s that starred Andy Griffith, the man, playing a cop in Mayberry, like a small town in the 1950s in America, with him raising his son without his wife because his wife passed away or whatever. And he's a cop. And he has a partner who's the comedic relief played by Don Knotts, who's named Barney. That's where Barney gets his name. You have to remember, Half-Life was made in the late 90s by a bunch of people who watched reruns of old television on cable TV. There's a reason why a bunch of people that grew up in the 80s and 90s are so like intimately familiar with not only the pop culture of the 80s and 90s, but the pop culture of like from the 50s to the 70s. And that's because of reruns. That's because old TV shows were constantly being reran or old movies were constantly being shown. The Andy Griffith Show is no exception. Right? That's a classic television show. It's great. If you haven't seen it, it's very, very good. Right? And so, yeah, Barney Calhoun, at least the model of Barney, especially the freeze Barney with the big eyes and he looks nervous, that's Don Knotts. Right? I'll show you a picture. No, he was not named after... Oh, okay. Andy Griffith Show was 1960 to 1968. I thought it was the 50s. I was wrong. This is Don Knotts. This is Barney. His name was, I think, Barney Fife, right? This was Andy Griffith's partner at the police station. That's what Barney's based on, especially if you look at Freeze. That's Barney. That's where Barney gets his name. Go watch Andy Griffith Show. Where did the last name come from? I don't know. They probably just came up with a last name. Barney was his wimpy, incompetent deputy. Barney became an insult to law enforcement officers. He was the comedic relief character. He was the comedic relief character. Chill out. Andy Griffith Show is very, very good. There is old television shows. Some of them are still very, very good. The Andy Griffith Show is one of them. Little House on the Prairie is one of them. Old TV is still worth watching. That's my opinion. The Dick Van Dyke Show is very, very good. The Mary Tyler Moore Show is fantastic. Maude is amazing. And then if you get in the 80s, of course, The Golden Girls is the best sitcom in the history of sitcoms. Yeah. And, like, if you can get past, you know, some of the more problematic jokes, Archie Bunker is also very good. Develop an obsession with the pop culture of the golden age a couple of decades ago is a common cycle. Look at the Passionate Gamer program. You're correct. Any 6-7 news? 8-9. Barney was what you called cops to diss them. That is true. That is true. For a while, that is true. Yeah. Have I missed a lot? Well, we've been going for an hour and a half, so yes, I think you probably have. Okay. So okay, so just to read this question all the way through. I understand that Barney in Half-Life 2 was meant to represent the archetype with a Half-Life 1 security guard in the same way that Dr. Kleiner was meant to represent the scientific archetype. But where did the name Barney actually come from? I answered your question. I've heard conflicting things over the years. It's a name derived from Blue Shift, that it was in the file name of the security guard of Half-Life 1 even before Blue Shift. I think Barney was. I don't think Calhoun was. Or that it's referencing the guards collectively as Barney as a community joke, in-joke. Or the Barney Calhoun was a combination of Barnacle and Houndeye. That's not true. Barney introduces himself in Half-Life 2, though his name should immediately ring a bell to the average player. I've always been curious. Yeah, so they were called, all the security cards were called Barney in Half-Life 1. Blue Shift gave a specific character the name Barney Calhoun, and that is technically, because the expansions aren't necessarily canon, that character from Half-Life 2, that gave him the name Barney Calhoun. However, the name Barney Calhoun was created first in the development of Half-Life 2 and was given to Gearbox because they were making an expansion based on the security guard. I have heard that. So yeah, that's where Barney's name came from. Hey, my question is when you were informed that Valve was getting an HLX trailer ready, do you have reason to believe that that was the Steam hardware announcement? Yes. I think I know that for a fact. The trailer work that they were doing was for the hardware. Could you link the HLX announcement information you were aware of to be the new hardware? I cannot. I know you like future funk and similar genres. Have you heard of Milk Talk? Milk Talk. Makes some pretty good stuff. Electric Indigo is a pretty good introduction to them. I'm not going to listen to it on stream, but I will listen to it later. I'll let you know on stream. Hey, Tyler, hope you've been well. My question is, would outside factors in the gaming market, such as the release of GTA 6, affect when Valve announces and releases HLX? Or will they just release it when the game is finished? No. So not hitting the 2025 November, the Q4 2025 deadline definitely would affect things. And no one, including Valve, would want to compete for attention with GTA 6. Take that as you will. I know your answer will be mostly speculation, but I would appreciate your thought on this matter. 25 PLN. Do you think Valve, this is from Cloud 5182, do you think HLX release could help lower hardware prices by making up the losses on hardware? It could, but they won't do that. I understand where you're coming from, but you also have to remember that whatever they consider to be the budget of HLX is not the true budget of HLX, because HLX, Half-Life 3 has been in some form of development for the last almost 20 years. So the R&D budget on that alone has got to be one of the most expensive video games in the history of video games, if you count every iteration counting towards that cost. And they probably want to try and recoup that. So I don't know. Also, Valve doesn't sell at a loss. Valve will not be selling the hardware at a loss. Valve will not be selling the hardware at a loss. Valve will not be selling the hardware at a loss. I would like everybody to type that into their chat so they acknowledge the reality of that fact. Valve will not be selling their hardware at a loss. Okay. So it's interesting because Gemini wrote a reply to this question about if GTA 6 will affect things. And Gemini said, that's a really interesting question about market timing. My take is that Valve operates on its own schedule. They're famously protective of their development timelines and typically only announce things when they are ready to ship or very close to it. I don't think external factors like GTA 6 marketing would significantly alter their internal roadmap, especially for something as massive as a new Half-Life title. If anything, they might avoid a direct collision if possible, but Valve has never seemed overly concerned with what other publishers are doing when it comes to major releases. So that's wrong. There's a point in there that's truthful. Valve historically has never given a shit what other people are doing. I think even Valve understands that they should not take on GTA 6. I understand that when it comes to GTA 6, literally the only thing that could make a similar-sized splash is Half-Life 3. But even they aren't that full of themselves. Do you think that the Valve-related content on YouTube is harder to make due to a lack of ideas? Because it's definitely for me. No. No. I only tend to... at most, I make like one video a week, and usually it's not even that. No, I don't. But I think that's probably because I've been making Valve-related content on YouTube for 15 years. Right? I have video ideas that I've had since the beginning that I've still not made. I probably never will, but if I really needed to get something out, I could pull at something. Right? I have lists upon lists upon lists that I have, been writing about video ideas that I could pull from at any time. There's so many different interesting things you could talk about when it comes to Valve, and usually when people are trying to find things to talk about nowadays, it's about directly referencing design of the games themselves, whereas I'm more interested in the history and the development of the games than actually being like, there's a lot of really great videos about specific design decisions within Valve games, whether that be movement tech, level geometry, lore type stuff. That seems to be the through line right now. And I'm very interested in telling the story of the human people, the human element behind the games. And so I usually try and do that when it comes to me. I don't know. No, I don't find it difficult to make Valve content, but I do have many, many more years of doing it under my belt than pretty much anybody else in the industry right now. So... do you believe with how close the Steam machine is to being revealed, it may be shown at the Summer Games Fest this year along with a certain game? Okay, so yes, I do think that the Steam machine and Steam frame could be at Summer Games Fest. Yeah. I don't think HLX will be at the Summer Games Fest. I think the hardware very well could. I don't think that HLX will be at SGF. I don't think HLX will be at any convention. I think Valve will just announce it. It'll be out there. I don't think HLX will be at a conference or at a convention. I've said that dozens of times at this point, like officially. You could quote me on it. I don't think HLX will be announced at a convention or at a showcase. I think HLX will just be announced. One moment it's not there, the next moment it is, and it takes us all by surprise. Okay? It'll be a tweet. It'll be a blog post. It'll be a YouTube video. It'll be a tweet. It'll be a bunch of things. But it won't be at a convention. I'm still going to stream State of Play, Summer Games Fest, and the Xbox thing this year. Yeah. Okay. So this is a bit of a loaded question, but I will try my best. Do you have any advice for aspiring content creators who don't know how to stay motivated without wanting to effing die? Okay. So life is hard. Okay? Life is very, very hard for everybody. I'm not saying this to play the world's smallest violin and get boo-hoo points for me. I'm saying this so that you understand that whatever it is that you're living through, whatever it is that you're going through, understand that that experience, while difficult and while possibly defining who you are, is not unique to yourself. Okay? Understand that as part of the human condition, as part of being alive in this nightmare, right? That everybody else has the exact same shit going on. It doesn't matter how successful you are. It doesn't matter how well you are doing. I guarantee you, every single person, with a very small sliver of exceptions, of like the absolute people on the tippy top, hate themselves. Don't experience massive amounts of imposter syndrome. Hate things about themselves, or behaviors, or appearance, or little habits and quirks and things. Especially when looking back on previous mistakes and decisions in life of the past. All right. So that isn't advice necessarily just for the content creator. That's the advice for anybody who's trying to do anything. No matter what industry you're in, if you want to be in that industry, you're going to experience imposter syndrome. Now, how do you stay motivated? Well, it depends what your end goal is. It depends. Okay, hold on. Sir Sethi, $1.99. Do you think Valve will optimize HLX for the Steam Deck? Yes. Moving on. It depends what your goals are, right? So, when I started doing this, when I started making YouTube videos, when I started doing YouTube content, it was just for fun. It was because I wanted to do it, and it was because I enjoyed creation of things. But it was also a very, very different industry than it is right now, right? And I've sat through so many different changes and cultural shifts and expectation adjustments and drama and everything that you could possibly imagine. I've sat through it. And so I have to tell you that it depends entirely on what you want to do. If you're trying to get into content creation because you're hoping to turn it into a job, or you're hoping to turn it into a consistent revenue stream, unfortunately, that is not dependent on skill or ability or quality. That's on luck. That is luck. You could be one of the best content creators out there. You could be making some of, if not the best stuff to put out on YouTube. And it just depends how the wind blows that day. If people are willing to click on it, if people are willing to share it, whether or not it'll actually do anything. And then even if you find success doing something, are you able to maintain that, or is it just a fad? Are you able to evolve? Are you able to change? Are you able to, as you get successful, deal with people desperately wanting you to fail and throwing a lot of energy towards that and at you? Okay? I think it's very important. It's very important for you to quantify what it is you want out of it. If you're creating content because you're genuinely getting fulfillment out of the creation process, then fantastic. That's exactly what you should be doing. And the motivation will come. Right? But if you're doing this because you want to try and make money from it, unfortunately, that's a poisoned well that you've already it's a poisoned well from the beginning, and it will not go anywhere. Because the amount of time it takes for something to truly form You won't be able to maintain that motivation if you're entirely driven by profit, unfortunately. And when it comes to right now, it's a really difficult situation because the tools that allow individuals to automate content are becoming easier and easier to use and are getting better at what they produce, so that the general public consumes it. And so when I started, right, when I started doing Valve News Network in 2011, I was competing against other human beings. A very large pool, but it was filled with only other human beings. Right? And so everybody was kind of working up against the same limitations. A human can only do so much. A human needs to sleep. A human needs a break. Right? And that does allow it to be a bit more of an even playing field. I don't want to crush your dreams, but unfortunately we are living in a world now where you're not just competing with other human beings. You're competing with a computer. And while many enthusiasts, especially gamers, are very opposed to things that are like on the face, very obviously AI generated, there are people who have been able to find success that are hiding the fact that they aren't completely human made. There's a person who makes Valve videos now that is so obviously generating the scripts, having some kind of computer generate the editing, generate the title, make very basic thumbnails, generate the description, and they get just as many views as me, and they make more videos than I do. We're not in an industry where you're competing against other human beings anymore. Right? There's always been a friendly rivalry between me and Gabe Follower, but me and Gabe Follower are just two people. We have lives outside of all of this, right? So it's difficult. You need to know what you're doing. You need to know what you want out of it. And you also need to understand that going into something just because you think that it can make you money isn't going to result in what you want, and will likely just end with frustration and embarrassment and likely some trauma. Content creation is strange. I wouldn't say it's a hard job. You know, I don't want to sit here and say that like, oh, woe is me, this sucks, like, oh, it's so hard or whatever. I'm very lucky. You know, I am an immensely lucky human being to have the position that I have. And I understand that since I was 14 years old, I've been working my ass off to try and maintain my position. Right? But I'm not flipping burgers. I'm not working in the Walmart electronics department. I'm not selling hardware at a hardware store. I'm not working at Geek Squad anymore. And so, you know, it's great, but do understand that this is still soul crushing. This is still soul crushing. Let me repeat that. This is still soul crushing. And unfortunately, the older I get with how the industry is moving, it's becoming more and more of a problem. 50 SEK from Martinson 150. I think that people will be looking for authenticity and more personality in a more AI-driven landscape more and more moving forward, though. To an extent, yeah, to an extent. But unfortunately, every single person watching this, including myself, have definitely watched a video essay or some kind of long-form YouTube video that was generated by AI and you didn't realize it. And as time progresses, you're gonna fall for it again, and you're gonna fall for it more frequently. And because all it takes is somebody, filling Claude or ChatGPT up with handwritten stuff and then asking it to generate a script in the style of your own voice. And then it's very, very difficult to be able to find out that that thing is AI generated. They're very, very good at emulating a pre-written style. Yeah. And I've tested that. I've never utilized a script in a released piece of content, but I have tested it out to see where the technology is at. And I have had, I've pasted in scripts into ChatGPT of my videos and then said, could you write something about this? Right? It's close. Right? And just to prove my point, I'm going to do that now. I am going to ask one of these stupid fucking LLMs to generate me a Valve News Network video. This will take a second. You missed a dono? I did? Oh, $5. Would you be interested in doing a documentary-style video on Gabe's weight loss journey from the 1990s until now? Also 6'7". Also, I sent an email. No. I would not be interested in doing that. I apologize, but no thank you. Would anybody actually watch that? Yo, Vaz4 Bummed. Thank you so much for the new follow on Twitch. Okay, what topic do you want the dumb shit AI to generate? HLX leaks overview? Nah. Okay. Let's see. Tell it to write an in-depth about the development history of Team Fortress 2. Write about the production history of Team Fortress 2 from the late 90s until release in 2007. Okay. Okay. I hate that it got it. Yeah, I fucking hate this. Okay, so here's what it wrote. You ready? So you're not... Oh, wait. I want to make sure that the YouTube audience hears this. Hold on. All right. So you're not going to believe this, but Team Fortress 2 actually took 9 years to come out. 9 years. The same game. Well, sort of. Actually, not really at all. That's kind of the whole point of the story. And I think a lot of people know the broad strokes. They know that it was in development hell. They know it looked completely different at some point, and they know it eventually came out and became one of the most important games of the last 2 decades. But the actual history, the real documented, messy, embarrassing, fascinating history of how this game got made, that's what we're going to go through today. All of it, from the beginning. Here we go. Okay, so we have to go back all the way back to 1996. Robin Walker and John Cook are students at RMIT University in Melbourne, Australia. And they do something that a lot of people were doing at the time, which was making a mod for Quake. Their original mod was called Team Fortress. It was a class-based multiplayer shooter. It eventually evolved to have 9 classes, and taking things from other Quake mods, such as flags and objectives. It's free, and it blows up, at least in that little circle. People went insane for it. Now, Valve at this point is a brand new company. Gabe Newell and Mike Harrington left Microsoft in 1996. They had the money and the idea, and they were working on what would eventually become the first Half-Life. And they see Team Fortress, the Quake mod, and think, yeah, we want that. So in 1998, Valve acquires the Team Fortress franchise, the Team Fortress IP, and hires on Robin Walker and John Cook. Walker and Cook move to Bellevue, Washington, and immediately start working on a port of Team Fortress to the Gold Source engine, the one that Half-Life is built on. Okay, so I don't know why, but it sounds off. Yeah, so here's the thing. I told you it was AI, right? So I don't know if your reaction to it is... My point, to answer the basic question that it sounds soulless, it sounds off. Okay. My point is, as an aspiring content creator, that's what you're up against, right? Yeah, if you didn't know that I did that, would you have noticed? Because I know my speaking style, because I ad-lib my shit. Right? So I'll actually ad-lib what I would genuinely say about a history of Team Fortress 2. Team Fortress 2 actually started development before Valve Software was even involved in the project to begin with. There is evidence on the internet related to Robin Walker and Team Fortress Software, the company behind the original Quake World modification, working on a new Team Fortress 2 for the upcoming Quake 2 engine. Because of the popularity of Team Fortress 2, id Software was actually interested in allowing mods to be created for Quake 2 before the game was actually finished. And so, the earliest iterations of what became Team Fortress 2 actually started for Quake 2. It wasn't until Valve Software swooped in and hired Robin Walker and John Cook that they ceased production of whatever they were working on with Quake 2 and started working in the Gold Source engine, the engine powering Half-Life. Now, it's a misconception that what they first started working on became Team Fortress Classic. That's not true. The original iteration of Team Fortress 2 is almost certainly carrying on the original design concepts that were created for Quake 2 in the first place. The idea of it being modern military, allowing something like a commander class, and having a lot of vehicles and larger maps were almost certainly something they wanted to do in Quake 2 and brought those designs over to Valve Software. Anyways. So that's ad-libbed. Most of what I do now is ad-libbed because I've done this for so long that I just can do that. Is that true? Yeah, that's actually true. Yeah, that is true. The AI didn't get it right. The AI said a couple of things that were incorrect. They wanted to make Battlefield, but they couldn't. That's correct. You're scary good at that? Thank you. 15 years. 15 years. Anyways, so look. This person is listed in the email as Shadow. Shadow. If you want to create because you have the need or the drive to create, that's fantastic. If you don't have motivation to create, you don't have to chase it. You don't have to do things to be able to try and find it. It is entirely okay as a creator to take a break. The industry, the algorithm, these websites drill into you that you need to be on your grind all of the time. And yes, if you want to make the big bucks, then you need to sell your soul to the algorithm. And I don't recommend it. But if you just want to have fun, if you just want to make something because there's something in you that wants to create something, that's beautiful. Do it. That's totally fine. But if you don't feel like you have the motivation, if the process of content creation and chasing audiences and algorithms and SEO optimization bullshit, then maybe find a different hobby. Try and find something else. I know the world is terrifying. I know that it seems as if the internet, especially now, is just trying to drag you into a toxic, dangerous place, whether that be through pornography or gambling or some other third thing. I get it. But if the whole process of content creation is making you feel like you want to die, then maybe content creation isn't what you should be doing with your time. Because there's a big part of me that regrets doing any of this. Okay? I gave up my entire all of my teenage years. I gave up all of my 20s. For this. And I'm in a good place, you know. But sometimes I do wish that I just had like a normal job. And I could come home and just turn my brain off from it. Thank you. I appreciate that. I owe the audience a great deal. So, I'm still here. The grass is always greener. That is correct. That is correct. There's a level of there's a level of lack of privacy. There's a level of lack of understanding that you can get from an internet audience. Right? And that can be a bit much sometimes. Anyways, I hope that helps, man. And I wish you the best of luck in whatever it is that you want to do in life. If a thing that you're working on makes you want to fucking die and you don't have to do it, don't do it. It's not that difficult. How do you stop overthinking? You don't. You don't. The secret to that is if you know that you're not going to be able to stop overthinking, then don't even fight it and do the simple shit anyway. I'm overthinking right now. I'm still doing it. I don't know if you have, but if you started the email questions, yeah, there's a lot of them, but I'm slowly getting through them. Sorry, I just got here. No problem. I just want to say that your content has been a part of my life for over a decade. I've moved house thrice. I've had 2 kids in that time, and you have, in small way, supported that by providing great stuff. I appreciate that. The sun is leaking. There's this little dot of the sun that was just on my face. Yeah, I'm almost 30. I've been doing this since I was 14. There's the sun. Okay. Hi, Tyler. Do you think HLX is tied to the machine? Not anymore. I think it was a plan. I don't think it is anymore. If so, do you think we'll see an announcement with the Steam Machine trailer or sometime after? Sometime after. Thank you for the question. Hi, Tyler. I hope you're doing good. I'm okay. I appreciate it. What are some games in recent memory that you've played, or game companies, that have the same feeling as a Valve game? Oh, nothing. Nothing. Nothing has the same feeling of a Valve game. Nothing. No. There's something about how Valve does it. Nothing is like a Valve game. There are many games that I wholeheartedly adore as much as Valve titles. Cyberpunk 2077, Disco Elysium, The Witcher 3, Doom Eternal, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Super Mario Odyssey, Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, classic Doom, classic Quake, Red Dead 2, definitely. But they all kind of feel different. They all feel different in their own way. You know, like Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk spiritually feel similar in many ways. And then big Nintendo games, even if you're playing a Zelda or a Mario, they kind of feel spiritually similar in a bunch of different ways. Disco Elysium is a game that'll never be topped. Zero Parades for Dead Spies is interesting. I enjoy it. I find it a little funny that the leftist art collective split into a bunch of different pieces and each one is claiming to be the true successor. And that's coming from a person who identifies as left-leaning. You know, what can you do? I don't know. For me, the attention to detail and uniqueness of Blueprints made me think of Valve. Blueprints is okay. Also, Abiotic Factor is inspired heavily by Half-Life 1, and it was a blast to play through. Abiotic Factor is incredible, but it does not feel like a Valve game. It's wearing the skin of a Valve game, but it doesn't feel like a Valve game. It feels like Rust, but good. I appreciate the question. What the fuck? Okay, so the Gemini answer gave an answer. Okay, so Gemini answered the question for me. Hi, I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. This is a great question. The Blueprints sounds interesting. I'll have to check it out. I've played the Blueprints. How many hours do I have in Blueprints? That's a good Steam Deck game, Blueprints. Don't just say shit. You've got 3 hours in the Blueprints. Abiotic Factor is a solid comparison for the Half-Life 1 vibes. Okay. For me, the recent one that really scratched that Valve itch was Immortals of Avum. Avium. What is... I don't know what that is. I've never played that. Oh, it's in my... It's... Wait, that game? That game? Didn't that game get that studio shut down? Immortals of Avium. It felt like they managed to capture the same level of polish and environmental storytelling you see in the best of Valve's work, even if the core gameplay is different. Oh. Okay, and then a true answer, actually. Also, anything from Arcane, like Deathloop or Prey or Dishonored. Okay. So, Immortals of whatever. No, not even a little bit. Valid answer for the second half. Anything from Arcane like Deathloop, Prey, or Dishonored. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah. I forgot about that. Genuinely, yes. Dishonored, Prey, and Deathloop. Yes. What feels like a Valve game? Arcane's best work. What feels like a Valve game? Arcane's best work. Yeah. Dark Messiah of Might and Magic, Dishonored 1 and 2, not Death of the Outsider, and Prey. Also, Deathloop is very good, but maybe not. Those three, those feel like Valve games. Yes, I'll give you that. Yeah. Okay. Now, Dishonored had, oh God, I'm blanking on his name. Rest in peace. I'm so sorry. Victor Antonov as the creative director or whatever. So there's that. And also, Arcane developed a whole Half-Life game and then got canceled right before making Dishonored. Dishonored, Prey 2017 and Dishonored 1 are probably the closest things to, like, unofficial Valve games. Yeah. Yeah. And Dark Messiah Might and Magic, but if I'm going to be completely honest with you, Dishonored 1 and Prey 2017. I've never played much. I think I played like maybe an hour of the single player of Titanfall 2, so I can't speak on that. But yes, Arcane's output, Dishonored 1, Dishonored 2, Prey 2017, and Deathloop are all... Dark Messiah Might and Magic, let's throw that in there. Dark Messiah Might and Magic, Dishonored 1, Dishonored 2, Prey 2017, Prey Moon Crash, and Deathloop. All of those do, in my opinion, sit toe-to-toe with Portal, Portal 2, Half-Life 2. Yeah, they do, actually. The AI got it right. Now, it opened with the dumbest fucking shit I've ever read. Immortals of Avium are just like Valve. But they pulled it back with Deathloop, Prey, and Dishonored. That is correct. You like Deathloop? I love Deathloop. I never finished Deathloop. I don't like it as much as Dishonored 1 and 2 and Prey, but I like them quite a bit. Prey 2006 also. I've never played it. Moving on. Oh God, I don't like that. The AI answered a question correctly from my perspective. I'm wondering where you're getting your data from. How do I turn off the suggested reply thing on these emails? Okay, somebody asked me, hello, Mr. McVicker, have you watched Star Trek, and what is your favorite series? The AI answer to that question is, I've seen a fair bit of Star Trek, but I'm not a deep expert. Deep Space Nine is probably my favorite for its character work. So that's the real answer. So the second question, is Alex actually the metaphysical appearance of Jesus Christ as imagined by a blue whale? And the AI answer to that is also my answer to that, which is that's certainly a unique take on Alex, but no, I don't think so. Hey, Tyler. Hi. Since owning your own device is going to become more rare in the future, do you see Steam/Valve getting into cloud gaming? Oh, no. The AI answered the question in the way I would answer it. How do I turn this off? It even sounds like me. Okay. I think Valve is fundamentally opposed to the cloud gaming model, at least in the way that Microsoft or Amazon are pushing for. Their entire hardware strategy, whether it succeeds or not, Steam Deck, Index, Steam Machine, Frame, etc., is built around local, powerful, yet affordable PC gaming. Cloud gaming undermines the entire point of owning powerful, yet affordable hardware and undermines the entire purpose of the hardware team's last 10 years of work. I suspect Valve will continue to push local compute as long as they can, and will only use cloud tech for niche things like remote play or perhaps as a backup option, not as a primary delivery method. They want you to be running games on hardware you own or control. That's my exact answer. The Steam Link isn't cloud gaming. And also, it's running on your own hardware that you own. Okay. What do you think, based on vibes, would be the stylistic aesthetic setting for the next Team Fortress game, assuming it's in the 70s or 80s? And we can't assume it'll be in the 70s or 80s. It would be a fair guess that it would be a Scarface Vice City-esque? No. The only thing I can tell you, and the AI response is dog shit. The only thing I can tell you, you know, in the comic, that statue for the other teams, why do I burp so much? Because I have severe digestion problems. Because I'm a fat man with severe digestion problems. So, you know, in the comics where it shows that statue of the other teams, and then there's like the images of like what Manco's been working on now in the final comic issue. That. If I were to predict, that's what it would look like. Yeah, it would. So Team Fortress 2 takes place in the late 60s. Team Fortress whatever the next thing is, if it's going to follow, yeah, it'd be in the 70s probably. Do you think the final comic issue features a codename TFTs? Yeah. Maybe. The AI answer is saying that I'd love to see Team Fortress 3 with nothing but neon and excess for that era. No, I wouldn't. Fuck off. So here it is. Okay, settings. See all settings. General. Smart reply off. Thank you so much. Okay. So this person's email is Gabe Yacht Long Dog 197 Mike opening Mike Shapiro Valve opening Mike Shapiro tweet Summer Games Fest. Tyler McVicker Steam Machine shipment mid-event of announcement Valve of Office Pizza. Gabe follower Mike Straw leaks Zen Gorilla Raising the Bar re-release. TFX HLX ARG frame summer sale. Okay. Tyler, hope you're doing all right. Here's some questions for you. Thank you. What are your thoughts on Portal 2 Community Edition? You love to see games get remasters by people in the community that give a shit. Do you think Portal 2 will get the anniversary treatment in the future? Yes, I do, but that's... well, it's the 15th anniversary right now for Portal 2. But that game, we've already passed its 15th, right? So probably 2031. What's your favorite Pixar movie? Ooh. Damn. Does issue 7 take place in 1979? I think it ends in 1979. Holy shit. So, I mean, just like every other human being on Earth, I fucking love Pixar movies, especially the ones from, you know, when I was a kid. If I, Monsters, Inc., I think. I think Monsters, Inc. But hot damn, is that a tough choice. Monsters, Inc., Ratatouille, WALL-E, Up, Toy Story 1, 2, and 3, The Incredibles, Inside Out. Like, you gotta be kidding me. Oh, Finding Nemo? Jesus Christ. I actually... Cars is fine, but I think Cars is probably the least of that... of, like, the first 10 years or 15 years of Pixar. I haven't seen most of their recent ones. The last Pixar movie I think I saw was either Incredibles 2 or Finding Dory, or whichever one came out last. I haven't seen Hoppers. I haven't seen Cars 3. I haven't seen Brave. I haven't seen Inside Out 2. I haven't seen Soul, even though I've heard very good things about it. I heard Soul was very good. But go watch Soul right now. So I hadn't really watched any of the Pixar movies in a long time, because we used to have them all on DVD. And then when I started buying Blu-rays and putting together my Plex server, Electra and I rewatched a few of them, and I watched Finding Nemo for probably the first time in like 15 years. And as an adult, watching those movies again is even better than watching those movies as a kid. Especially if you let it sit and you don't watch it again for a long time. Because it's an entirely different film as an adult. Because as an adult, you're watching it through Marlin's eyes, not Nemo's eyes. And a lot of those jokes that I didn't realize were jokes hit. Like, damn. You know, And so, and then we watched Finding Nemo over Christmas. And then a couple weeks ago, we watched Ratatouille. And I hadn't seen Ratatouille in it came out, 2009? In a long time. And I watched it again. And I'm like, oh, wow. Wow, this is a good movie. Like, what the hell? Ratatouille was 2007. Oh, Jesus. I saw that in theaters. My dad, I did not have a very good relationship with my dad. I love my dad, but, there's a lot of stuff there. But the one thing that my dad did was he took us to the movies all the time. I think it was because it was just easy to do that. But he did take us to the movies, all the time. And we did see, pretty much every major animated movie from 2003 all the way up until, 2015. And so I saw Toy Story 2 in theaters. I saw Monsters, Inc. in theaters. I saw Finding Nemo in theaters 3 times. I saw The Incredibles in theaters twice. I saw Up, WALL-E, Ratatouille. I saw Inside Out, Finding Dory, Monsters University, Incredibles 2. But I also saw all the DreamWorks. I saw Madagascar, How to Train Your Dragon, Shrek 1, 2, 3, 4. We used to go to the movies literally all the time. I saw Dougal in theaters. I saw Hoodwinked in theaters. I saw Over the Hedge in theaters 3 times. I saw Thomas the Tank Engine and the Magic Railroad in theaters. I saw I saw Alvin and the Chipmunks and the Squeakquel in theaters. I saw Bolt. I saw Chicken Little. We used to go. What was the one open season where it was the bear and the deer, and they went into a convenience store and destroyed it? I remember that open season. I saw Brother Bear. That one made me weep. I saw there was, I think, a movie called Planet 51. And it was about aliens coming to Earth or something. Or maybe it was about being on an alien planet. I saw Monsters vs. Aliens was very good. Megamind was fantastic. I loved Megamind. I love you too, random citizen. Megamind was good. Monsters vs. Aliens was good. But the thing is, the Pixar movies hold up more than anything else. DreamWorks movies hold up too, to an extent. Shrek 1 and 2. Come on now. People joke about Shrek, but part of that is because the Shrek movies are fucking awesome. I like Pixar more than Disney. Same. Absolutely same. Space Chimps. I saw Space Chimps. I saw that in theaters. As an adult, I realized that my dad took us to the movies all the time because my parents weren't prepared to be parents. And it was very easy to just, they'll sit in the theater for an hour and a half and then I'll take them to dinner. And there's a lot of, I'm not well made up here, unfortunately. And pretty much every good memory that I have from my childhood, I'm sure a lot of you have this, is attached to something that makes a lot of terrible sense as an adult. And you're just like, okay. Shrek 1 and 2 I've seen hundreds of times. Shrek 3 and 4 I've seen once each. I've been looking for you more than 13 years. I dream I will talk to you sometime. I know I will help you with some of your problems. Jesus Christ. No, I'm okay. I appreciate you being here, but it's kind of parasocial and it makes me a little uncomfortable. But no, so my favorite movie My favorite Pixar movie is Monsters Inc. Wow, that was a waste of time. I'm so sorry. Moving on. When do you think Half-Life 3 will be published? Chevy Truck Month 34th, 2089. Any strictly personal insider, non-insider based, non-Valve predictions for SGF? I'd love to do some E3 predictions. I love yapping about Pixar. The only time that I felt like I was going to actually well up in tears at Disney World was in Pixar Place. And Sully Sullenberger, not Sully, that's the, you know what I'm talking about. Sully Sullenberger's the pilot. Yeah, Tom Hanks came out. No, but the guy in the Sully suit came out. And then Mrs. Incredible was over there, which, if you know me, Helen Parr. And Frozone came out. Joy was there. Edna Mode was there. And, like, I got pictures with all of them. But when Sully came out, and there was there's the cast member that we were waiting in line to go over there. And the cast member was doing a Billy Crystal impression, and it was very good. I almost cried. That felt like very healing for little baby me. That was cool. That was really, really cool. I liked that a lot. You know, but I don't know, like meeting all the characters, like we did a lot of character meet and greets because you're at Disney. It's what you do. I felt very little doing that. But when I met the Pixar characters, it was, I know it's a guy in a suit. I know it's a guy in a suit. But that's Sully. And he's this big, fuzzy guy. And he looks, holy shit. That's the only guy I gave a hug to, was Sully. That was a good moment. Okay, so non-E3 predictions. Probably. So I do think that through the non-E3 week, we're going to get the hardware pricing. And I do think we're not going to like it. As for other stuff, I think we're going to finally learn about BioShock 4. Big speculative prediction. I think we're finally going to learn about BioShock 4. I think we're not going to. I don't think Judas will be there. I think Judas is going to be in development hell for another 5 years. Ken just can't help himself. I think we're going to see a new God of War. I think PlayStation State of Play is going to smack. I think PlayStation State of Play is going to smack. I think that PlayStation has had so many duds and failures, public failures, that I think they need to prove themselves. I think State of Play is going to smack. And obviously we're going to see the Wolverine game. There's a leak related to there being a God of War game based on Freya, and it's kind of Devil May Cry styled. That sounds fucking great. I would love to see some stuff on Witcher 4. I would love, and not necessarily at Sony State of Play, but I'd love to see Freya, Kratos' wife before the 2018 game. Yeah. I would love to see some Witcher 4. I would love to see some Witcher Song of the Past, which is like my most anticipated thing right now. Witcher 3 is one of my favorite games. I'm not excited for the Marvel games. I don't want to like shit on your thing if it's your thing. I don't give a shit about superheroes anymore. I just don't. I don't care. I don't care. And the same could be said. I care a little bit. There's a tiny flicker of a flame for Star Wars, but only for the original trilogy. When I was at Galaxy's Edge and I saw the Millennium Falcon, I felt something. But when I saw Adam Driver's character, I don't care. When I saw the little Grogu, I don't give a shit. I don't care. When I saw the Millennium Falcon, I was like, that's the Millennium Falcon. That's fucking cool. That's sick. That's Han Solo and Chewbacca's ship. That's pretty cool. And I think even Disney knows that because I guess they're converting Galaxy's Edge to be more original trilogy stuff. So I do like BB-8. I like that little ball that rolls around, but I'd rather see R2-D2 and C-3PO than BB-8. And I don't give a shit about superheroes. The superhero craze started when I was like 14, even younger. When did the Avengers come out? 2009? Jesus Christ. It's like... I don't care. I don't care. It's like everybody who's my age has been living the same year since we were 10. You know what I mean? Like, we've been talking about the same Orange Man for like 11 years now. 12 years. We've been talking about the same Star Wars Marvel bullshit for like, fuck it. When did Iron Man 2 come out? 2008? Ah! It's the same. Culture froze. The Office only work. The Office is so replayable nowadays because the life has not changed very much since then. Sorry. I think, is Meta Realist a fucking AI? This guy's giving me some heebie-jeebies. Wait, you are an AI? What? How the fuck does that work? What are you talking about? I've yet to see the Robert Pattinson Batman movie, but I will watch that one. I have it on 4K. It's on the Plex server. I'll watch it. Okay. Meta Realist, you're just take a break. All right. Any other predictions for E3? I do think we're good. Oh, God. Yes, the speculation is up. This is not based on anything. Please don't quote me on this. This is not news. This is a guess. I do think we're going to have a Nintendo Direct happen like a week after everything else. I do think there's going to be a Nintendo Direct in June. It won't be during the week. What do you think about Plex pricing changes? I'm thinking about switching to Jellyfin, but I don't want to relearn everything right now. And if the Nintendo Direct does happen soon, Ocarina of Time remake, more about the Star Fox game, Deltarune Chapter 5, you see, I don't think the 3D Mario game is this year. I think it's next year. And if that's the case, you don't have a lifetime pass? I'm paying month to month. No. I don't know. But there'll be a Nintendo thing soon-ish. The Ocarina of Time remake, I'm pretty sure that's a real thing. And I'll play it. Ocarina of Time is the game that made Electra and I play video games together. So that was a fun time when we were kids. Because I've been with my wife Electra since 2011. I say this all the time, but I started dating Electra the same week I started Valve News Network. And in like 2012, I let her borrow my 3DS because I'm a passionate gamer, and she liked video games growing up, but she didn't play a whole lot of them other than like New Super Mario Brothers, Wii Sports, Wii Fit, Sims 4, Sims 2, Sims 3, Sims 4. she asked me, like, what game would I like? What game should I get into? And I'm like, well, what? She doesn't like guns. She's like, I like swords and fantasy stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay. And Ocarina of Time 3D had just come out, you know? And so I'm like, you should play this. You might like this. And I remember a day goes by and I call her because we're like 15. And she's just been playing it. And she's like in the spirit temple already facing Bongo Bongo or whatever. And I'm like, wow, wow. And so I remember sitting at home on an N64 on the phone with her playing the game together. Because then she started playing it immediately again, a second time, and then beat it again the second time. Whatever. Don't actually me. But I remember playing it on the N64 in my basement, you know, my little locked dungeon cage that my parents kept me in, and talking on the phone with Electra while she's on the 3DS in her bedroom, you know, playing, and we were playing Ocarina of Time at the same time. And sometimes she would ask me, like, well, how do you, like, you know, what does this P pod go towards, or, you know, whatever. That was fun, you know. So when the remake comes out, I will definitely. Your parents kept you in a locked room? When I was a kid, yeah. Yeah. When do you think Half-Life 3 will be published? Chevy Truck Month, 38th, 2031. What do you think TFX would look like? Do you think Valve would take a single-player direction for it? No, it'll be multiplayer. I'd love for them to take a single-player direction. But, again, look in the final comic issue of Team Fortress 2. And, yeah, just look at the statues and pictures of what Manco's currently doing. I think that's probably your best guess for right now. How's the stream going, by the way, guys? Are you liking the stream? Are we liking the stream? Is the stream okay? Are we enjoying ourselves? Good stream. Good stream. I'm glad I have the vocal stamina again to be able to do this for so long. Because remember, I'm just sitting alone in a room talking into a microphone for hours. And some people find that very difficult. Thankfully, I got this back. I couldn't do this while I had mono, but we're back. And hey, if you appreciate the stream, maybe show some appreciation if you can with some tips or some subscriptions or some super chats or whatever. It really helps us out. I'm trying to save money to live my dreams. And so, you know, whatever you donate will go into savings and help me, you know, do animal welfare stuff or go back to school and become a therapist and stuff. So if you can, I appreciate it. If not, don't worry about it. Who is this? On the Patreon already? I appreciate that. Thanks so much. Okay, a couple of questions. I know that Half-Life/Steam stuff are the hot topics, but as a viewer from 2013, I would also like to see more stuff that you really like being uploaded. When are you going to do more music-related projects after Half-Life 3? Because I already have a new thing, and that's the Passionate Gamer program, and that's kind of my secondary focus, because after HLX, things will shift, people will drop, and so my main focus, the other thing I want to do is the Passionate Gamer, the 90s show. But I do have music things that I'd love to talk about. I'd love to make a video about the Wedding album or Zero Theory, the Zero Theory demo tape, or whatever we know about LP11 for Coldplay. I'd love to, you know, talk about that kind of stuff. The reconstruction with AI from songs. Yeah, so what you're talking about is using not generative AI, but stem separation technology to be able to remaster demos and stuff. That's not generating something from nothing. That's taking a thing and splitting it into parts to allow each of those parts to be equalized and processed in a different way. I do that all the time with unreleased Coldplay stuff, and that would be associated with things like the Wedding album or the Zero Theory demo tape or their earliest work on things like the Panic EP or, you know, LP11 with songs like Shine On, Accio, that kind of thing. So, you know, there's that. What are your hopes for Summer Games Fest? I would love to see a Shadowland Monks and Silent Hill 1 remake. Silent Hill 1 remake I've heard rumblings about. I don't know what Shadowland Monks is. But what I'd love to see from Summer Games Fest, Witcher 4. I'd love to see more about Witcher 4. I'd love to hear a date. a general timeline, a year for Witcher 4. Hopefully 2027, you know? My out of left field dream thing, my absolute out of left field dream thing is, in the same way they have a third party making a Witcher 3 expansion, I would adore if they also had a external studio making a Cyberpunk 2077 expansion. I would cry. Absolutely. I'd love to hear more about the other Zaum spin-off stuff games. So, like, not made by Zaum, but there's like 2 or 3 games that are all made by different people that had something to do with Disco Elysium. I'm going to play every single one of them. I'd love to learn more about those. I don't know the names of all of them. I only know Zero Parades for Dead Spies because that one came out. I'd love to learn a little bit more about Project Orion, but to be completely honest, I don't expect to know much about that game until 2028, 2029, and I will have children by then, so I won't have the time to really put into that game. What else? There's got to be something else that I'm not thinking of. Oh, the new Metro game looks good. I'd like to learn more about that. I'd love for there to be a New Vegas remake, something Fallout. I'd love for Microsoft to finally just put their foot down and give Fallout to a different studio. Just, you know. Oh, Clockwork Revolution, I think it's called. The In Exile game. I'd love to learn more about that game. That game looks fucking great. Fable looks good. I'd love to learn more about the Doom DLC. Although them holding off until QuakeCon, maybe, you know. I am curious about Blade. I do agree with you. I do hope Blade is first person because it's Arcane. I don't care about Elder Scrolls 6. I'll play it. Like, I'll obviously play it. I will buy it. I don't have high hopes for it. I have much higher hopes for Clockwork, Fable, and Witcher 4 than I do about a BGS Studios game. Also, the Kingdom Come Deliverance people are working on a Lord of the Rings game. Is that what? Did I dream that? Or is that actually, did I read that? That's true? Yeah, that sounds sick as hell. That sounds sick as hell. And they're making a new Kingdom Come Deliverance game? I really need to play those. Everything I've seen from those games is like, oh, I'd love that. I really need to play those. You see, unfortunately, I'd love to be able to just play anything on stream, but I need to maintain at least 150 to 200 people, and I don't know if people would hang around for that. When's the next HLX video due? There isn't an HLX video in production right now. We're in the middle of an information drought, and also I'm sensing some fatigue from my audience for HLX for the time being. So the next videos are about Steam hardware, TFX, CodeMTF, and Doom. That's what I'm working on right now. Anything for the Patreon? Patreon gets to watch videos early. And so when there's a video in production that you can watch early, you will get it early. I apologize that May has been a drought from me. I was the sickest I have ever been in my entire life. And also concerns that the government was after me because I'm an insane person. I love you guys for your support. I love you guys for watching me. I'm glad that we share something in common, but I can't stress this enough. I'm insane. Okay? I don't watch your latest HLX videos to avoid spoilers. Totally fine. Why are you dropping these fun facts, Jesus? Are you new? I'm just letting people know what they're getting into if they become a fan of me. I am unstable, and I'm working on it. You do get too political sometimes for your own good. I know. I know. That has bit me in the ass more than you could possibly imagine. I'm a casual viewer. I didn't know that. What were they after me? It's a long... I always come up with something. I'm a crazy person. Trans rights, though. Yeah, trans rights. Absolutely. It doesn't need to make any sense. You make something up in your head when you're, Womble clogged the toilet today. Are there still plans to make mini docs on Episode 3 and Half-Life 3 2013? Yes, there is. Do you regret oversharing? Yeah. Yeah, on some things. Yes and no. It's tough. I don't know. All right. Everyone likes asking you what you think will happen in Valve's future, but what do you want Valve to do from now on? Well, I'd want them to announce HLX. I want them to announce HLX. I want to get this going. I want to just, get this, just start this. It's just, Are there any particular aspects you'd like them to focus on in game development? Well, single player, obviously, Do I feel like I'm in a holding pattern? Yeah. Yeah, single player, just, single player. Hardware releases, etc. Hardware's fine, it's out of my price range. It's irresponsibly expensive. Any particular ideas you'd like them to revisit? Any ideas I'd like to... Underlords. That's probably an unpopular opinion. Underlords. Underlords was great. I liked Underlords a lot. I'd love for them to go back to Underlords. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I don't really have a whole lot to say because pretty much it's all HLX all the time from me. What VR headset would you recommend for someone who's looking to get a little bit cheaper than the frame? I'm happy with wired or whatever. I just need a headset to play VR games. Just buy an Index used on eBay. Just a nice condition used Index. Just buy a Valve Index on eBay. Just look for a complete Index on eBay. You can get one of those for like a couple $100. That's what I recommend. Thank you for the email. I'm not reading this one. I appreciate the email. I'm not reading that. I'm sorry. Yeah, so secondhand and used Knuckles controllers, Valve Index controllers, unfortunately do have drifting problems. So keep that in mind if you go shopping for those. Is Valve likely to give up on supporting the machine and frame in the same way they have for deck? Same way they have the deck if sales are low? Will buying one be a bigger risk now? Oh, is that Half Peeps? Hey, Half Peeps. They haven't given up on the deck. What are you talking about? They're still very much supporting the deck. Are they not supporting the deck? Do I think that the support for the frame and the machine will be less than the deck because of the high prices? Yeah, that's possible, which means buying into that ecosystem might be maybe. Because, they might not be able to move the units at such a high price. That's a great point, but I also don't want to... I don't want to doom at such a level that that's just kind of based on nothing in particular. Did they mean Index? They said deck. I don't know. Anyways, is buying one a bigger risk? Yeah, I think that's a good point, but at the same time, it's impossible to know. It's impossible to know. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. Okay. Hi, Tyler. I don't actually have a question. Feel free to skip this, but I wanted to say happy night before Pride Month starts. Happy night before Pride. People in the chat need to remember to love your queer peers and communities. Actually stand up for queer peers communities, please. I'm begging you. Don't give money to company just because they put a rainbow on their product. Don't read game walkthroughs or guides. Otherwise, they will hurt your pride. Okay. Yeah, thanks. Sure. What do you think of the chances HLX potentially coming out on consoles like with previous titles? There's very little to suggest that they're doing that. It's very possible. Tyler, you're my favorite queer content creator. You know, maybe in more ways than you understand. It's very possible, but I really don't have any evidence or information to really suggest one way or another whether or not they're actually coming to any of the consoles. I don't know. I was wondering if there was any chance Deadlock would officially / be getting a 1.0 launch, or if Deadlock will continue to exist in a beta stage until Valve stops calling it that. So, yeah, I mean, it will have a 1.0 launch. Yes. Have you washed your hands? Yeah, earlier after I pooped. Tyler, do you think Sony will make their own portable? I think everyone's going to try and compete in the... Well, okay, maybe not. I think everybody wanted to compete in the portable space, but I think now it's too expensive to do so. So I don't know. Why do you think the frame will cost more than the machine if the frame has less storage and less VRAM than the machine? Because the frame is significantly more complex and is more difficult to manufacture. I know the frame has advanced sensors for VR and such. And my understanding is the hardware processes have skyrocketed specifically because of RAM and storage. Well, the Steam frame has 16 gigabytes of RAM and onboard storage. Right? It still has, like, the Steam frame still has RAM and storage built in. And it's significantly smaller. And it's way more complex. That's why. It's a VR headset. You know. Does Steam Frame run on ARM? Yes, it's running on a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. Same as this device, which runs Steam games pretty well. LPDDR is less of a strain than standard DDR. Yeah, that's true. Also doesn't completely matter because it still has storage in it. And also it's still strained, it's just not as strained. How does the fountain script and choreography work being done in 2026 fit into the idea that the game was planned for release at the end of 2025? I forget what fountain script is. So it's just more polishing work. It's more stuff that they're just doing because they have extra time to do it. About a week ago, Jeff Keighley posted a GIF of literal steam in a reply to a post about Summer Games Fest. A lot of people have been taking this possibly being a nod about the Steam platform, but it could also mean something completely different. With all the back-end updates ramping up for the Steam machine and the Welcome Tour being added a few days ago, do you think we'll see some sort of announcement from Valve in the Summer Games Fest? I think it is possible that you will be seeing the Steam hardware at Summer Games Fest. Yes. Had to work earlier, so just join the stream. Can you give me a brief summary on the updates or new info on HLX? There's really not new info. Do you think Valve will include an HLX trailer with the Steam stream? No, I do not. Do you think they'll bundle HLX with the purchase of the Steam machine? Yes, I do. Half-Life 2 Remastered Collection. What happened to it? It's not really in development anymore. It's a community thing, and the new anniversary update for Half-Life 2 kind of defeated the purpose. So, judging by these Steam machine release leaks, is it possible HLX is close? It's possible. Do you think the Steam machine is the new wave of PC consoles? It was going to be, but it won't anymore. It won't do that because of the prices of everything. Gun to your head, you have to pick one. Half-Life 2 or Deus Ex Human Revolution? Half-Life 2. What are your thoughts on Deltarune so far? I really haven't put much time into it, and I apologize. If you were put in charge of Valve, what would you change? Would you do large restructures? I would not change anything. I can't sit here and pretend to really know much about that. Like, I can't sit here and just like, I'm going to change that. I'm going to change that. It seems wrong. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't change much, but I appreciate the question. Okay, so I think I'm done. That's 3 hours. That's pretty good. I think I'm done. I think I'm going to wrap it up now because I don't want to just sit here and, you know, but we did letting off steam, 3 hours. It was fun. What's the 30-second HLX summary? It's apparent that something happened in late 2025. Stuff got pushed back. Could have something to do with the hardware, and they're utilizing that time to polish it even more. The game is never done. It's shipped. All right. Yeah, it was fun. Peace and hair grease, everybody. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.